the time I've known you, I coming together for our final fifth meeting together. So this is our fifth meeting as a community design team. And I'm going to hand off, I don't know where's Christine? I'm going to give this to you just so you keep that going with, is that okay? Because I will inevitably forget to move that forward. All right, with this fifth meeting, one of the things I just want to start by thanking you is, thank you for coming out in treacherous winter. What? I mean, you know, last night we were at a board meeting, and it was one of the most beautiful board meetings. We had students that were just simply amazing, like the kind of amazing that makes you tear up. It's the kind of amazing that makes you just proud to be a part of Mason. And we listened to these students share their gifts with us at the board meeting. And it was beautiful. And I didn't even know that I had about 170 text messages coming through during that time. And my son kept calling and my phone kept ringing. I was just so engaged in what was going on. But then later I looked, I'm like, what is going on out there? And apparently the winter storm was coming in, and it was crazy. And we had to run for shelter, and I had to call a snow day, and yeah, so. You know, we don't always get it right. I think I was the last one standing, and I just didn't know if that would be a wise place to continue to stand there. But I didn't get any complaints today. I got some thank yous from some of our students on Twitter. That was nice, because sometimes I get other things. So we'll see how the rest of the year goes. Sometimes we get it right. Sometimes we're a little off. And I will say the forecasters, I don't know. It's a great, if you're thinking about your future in another gig, I mean, being a forecaster, it seems like a kind of a cool, you know, maybe it's going to snow, maybe it's not, I don't know. Get people excited. But thanks for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. I know our students are excited. I gave you the day to rest, to be ready for this evening, so thank you for being here. One of the things that's unique about this meeting is that we've invited our student panel to be here, which is a group of students that came from our student design team. So you're going to meet some of our student design team this evening. You're also going to meet some students that were designers who designed a visual. Everybody okay? A visual for the Portrait of a Learner. So you're going to hear a little bit more about that tonight. And that was an idea that came out of our conversation the other evening. So you're going to hear some more about that. The other thing you're going to see tonight is the competencies, and you're going to hear a story behind how we got to the competencies and how we tried to do our best to honor voices, so we'll share some of that as well. And I think the last thing that we'll do this evening is talk about some next steps, and so that'll be kind of how the meeting wraps up and how we go forward as a district, so you're going to hear a bit more about our timeline. Again, I want to thank you for being here tonight. Typically at this meeting, we take a second to just recognize who's in the room. I think we've done that each and every meeting, and most of your faces look familiar, so we're not going to spend the time doing that right now, but hopefully you had a chance at your table to introduce yourselves to those at your table and make sure that you thank them for being here. Everyone here, just a reminder, you're wearing multiple hats. Some of you are wearing hats literally, but you're wearing multiple figurative hats that are representing different constituencies, okay? So you have multiple people you're connected to in your network. Make sure you view the work through those different lenses. That is the most helpful thing you could gift us this evening. All right, let's start with pressing pause, and let's recognize our students. I believe that's next on our, unless, Colin, did you want to go through anything to kick us off? And I know we're going to come back to you. Thanks for being here, Colin. I know Colin's up in Columbus, and they did actually get snow. And so thank you for actually coming through the weather to be here with us. Just a quick reminder, these are the 5 meetings we've been part of. Raise your hand if you've been able to make all 5 meetings. Thank you, Miles. That's good. Got a few others. Good. Thank you. Okay. If you've made all 5 meetings, I do appreciate. I know that's a lot of time. We spent hours together, but it's important. You have been kind of the foundation of making sure that the conversation thread goes all the way through each of our meetings, so I really appreciate that. All right, the Portrait of a Learner. Let's go through, there we go. I want to go through some stats here, so take a look with me. Just to remind you of the process, we've had about 33 students consistently engage in person as a part of our student design team. If you were a part of that student design team, could I have you please stand up? So if you were a part of that, let's give them a big hand. Look around the room. We have them at different tables around the room. Thank you very much. You can see our students. Thank you, students. Appreciate you. Our students have done a fabulous job of giving us honest feedback. You're going to hear from a panel, a group of them tonight. But I want to always remind you, in Mason City Schools, one of our goals as part of personalized learning is to always keep the person, specifically the student, at the center of those conversations. And so part of that is lifting student voice authentically. Another group of folks that have consistently engaged through these meetings and with us in person are the staff. So if you are a staff member, administrator, if you would please just stand up for just a second to be recognized for being a part of this. Let's give them a hand. Thank you very much for being a part of this. We appreciate you. I know some of you are parents as well. We appreciate you being here and being part of that. The next group, community members, would be non-staff members that are just a part of this. You might be a parent, a community partner. You might be a political partner in our community. Please stand up if you would. If you're not a staff member, but you're one of the adults in the room, thank you very much for being a part of this process. We appreciate you. You have brought us to where we are today, so thank you. Let's go through. I think we've done students, staff, parents. Did we just do parents? If you're just a parent here, not just a parent, but you are a parent of one of our Mason students, please stand up. If you're a parent of one of our Mason students, please stand up. Yes, thank you. Parents, thank you for all you do. Thank you for having your kids home today. We appreciate that as well. All right, I think that gives you a sense of who's been a part of this. If you see the 514 student or surveys, that we sent this out to all of our 7th through 12th grade students and asked them optionally to participate in this. And when you can get, think about this. If you're a parent of a teenager and you can get your teenager to do something and concentrate for a bit of time, that's an accomplishment. We were able to get 514 to sit down and fill out a survey for us on their own, by their own energy and interest. So we appreciate all of our students for doing that. 85 staff members responded to the survey that we sent out to all staff members, so gave us some feedback. And 247 of our parents responded to the survey to give us feedback. So just to give you a sense, we sent it out to everybody. Those are folks that spent time engaging in the process, so we appreciate all of you if you were a part of that, and those of your neighbors and friends that have also been a part of that. All right, let's move on. Oh, and then that brought us to 40 competencies. So we looked at 40 competencies that we were going to look through. We wrestled through them. We argued through them. We came up with what we would consider our final competencies. We had lots of discussion. If you remember correctly, in the last meeting, we had discussions about not only what the competencies should be, but how we should define those competencies. If you recall, we had students in a session write down their own definitions of the competencies. We had those on the back tables. We took those into consideration as we narrowed those down. And then during the meeting, if you recall, during the meeting, I was standing right in this area. If you're kind of a visual, spatial person, I was right in this area, and I said, hey, what about this idea that we would have students actually put together the actual design for the portrait of a learner? And overall, I felt like when I was looking through the room, people were overall supportive of that idea. And I want to give credit. I think Dina Little planted that seed. Dina, are you here? Where's Dina? Dina loves attention. Dina, thank you for planting that seed. I love the idea. I love that was a great idea. So thank you for planting that. Yeah, let's give Dina a hand. Thank you, Dina. Yes. She really does not want the recognition, but it is good to recognize that it's voices from our community that have driven us to this point and to get here. All right, let's see here. Colin, I'm going to turn it over to you to go through a little bit of the process. Do you mind?
Yeah, sure. I'm muted. Am I good? It sounds like I'm good. All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm going to keep it brief, what he said. Because he basically just went over everything that's up there on the visual. And so I will certainly give a recap for those of you who are new. So the parents who are here supporting their children this evening, this is the 5th meeting, but the 4th one that I've had the good fortune to be a part of. And in that first meeting, we talked about how the world has changed and what those changes mean for learning experience for students here in Mason. And we talked about things like the dark ages when encyclopedias were the internet and things like that. And how do we make sure that we are able to pivot and give our students what they need so that they can be choice ready when they leave our school district? And when we talk about choice ready, we mean being able to be enlisted, enrolled, employed, or entrepreneurs. And so how do we prepare them to make an informed choice when they leave us, and whatever choice they make, what are the skills that are transferable across any of those choices? And so, as Dr. Cooper alluded to, when we came together a second time, we addressed those things, and we selected 7 skills as individuals, and then we got together in small groups, and then those small groups came together and submitted their 7 for the design team to consider. We spent some time in the third meeting providing input on what words resonated, what words didn't resonate, and what words were missing. And then we gave that information to the leadership team, and you're going to see the results of your input here shortly. And tonight's meeting is all about how do we bring the portrait to life. Because if you remember at the very first meeting, I said the end of the process is the beginning of the work. And so we have now neared the end of the process, and you're going to hear about what the work is going to look like moving forward. And so with that, I'm going to turn it back over.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you very much. We have, this is an exciting portion of the meeting. One of the things that we really do appreciate in our district is our effort to elevate student voice. So here's what we're going to do. If you're one of our panelists, if you would take go ahead and have a seat up here. If you're one of the panelists, I think you're right over here. Have a seat up here. Let's give them a hand. I mean, getting up on stage is a big deal. Let's give them a hand, a little encouragement. While they're coming up to stage, I want to just also remind people, this is, we have great partners in our community with ICRC. ICRC, they are the ones that come in, and they were here last night to make sure that they broadcast our board meeting. And they are here again tonight. They're with us always, giving us great connection to the community. We have folks that are at home tonight watching this as a live feed. So I want to thank ICRC for being here and welcome everyone that's online. Thank you for joining us. It's a great, I'm glad you could be here this evening. All right, so our panelists, first thing I'm going to have you do, if you don't mind, is if you could just please tell us your name and what grade you're in. Do you want to start there? Go ahead.
I'm Aditi, and I'm in 8th grade.
My name is Prathamesh, and I'm in 7th grade.
I'm Ella, and I'm a sophomore.
Hi, my name is Emma Zellner, and I'm a sophomore here at MHS.
Hi, my name's Nura, and I'm a junior here at MHS.
My name's Moog, and I'm a sophomore.
All right. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of the process. You were all on our student design team, so you've been a part of those meetings. You've enjoyed some pizza and brownies with us. You've given us your great ideas. It's been exciting. I have a couple questions this evening, and one of the reasons that we lift our student voice is because it gives us a perspective of today. The world they live in is very different than the world. I mean, most of us, when we were in your grade levels, it was the 1900s, and so it was a very different time, very different pressures. Some things are transferable, right? Relationships and all the things that you navigate in high school, school lunches, those kind of things. But there's so many other layers to their world today, so we just want to recognize that, but we also want to hear that come through in their perspective. So, are you ready? Okay, let's do this. We'll start at that end first, Amog, and we'll go this way. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. So the first question that I'll ask our panelists, and if you need more time to think, you can say skip and go to the next person. That's totally fine, and take it in any direction. And Colin, I'll say if you see anything else you'd like to pull out of there, I know you're good at that. Just feel free to jump right in. Our first question is, what was surprising or interesting about participating in this process as a student?
The discussions that we had, I did not think that it was going to be so thought out and so deep, and just the kids that were in there, including even 6th graders, 7th graders, 7th graders, 8th graders, they were really smart, and their views on the school was very insightful.
For me, probably the most exciting thing was that the school actually likes to take the input of students and families, obviously, so seriously, and it likes to take their ideas and implement them in the schools and include the rest of us in the design process. So it's just really nice to see that the school really cares about how we feel, too.
I was shocked to see all the technological advancements that have been made in our society that will actually impact me when I graduate. I mean, we've all seen the food robots that go deliver to people's doors, all the self-driving cars. I mean, that to me was just a future so far away that I never thought that I would be in. So hearing from Colin and hearing all of those things about how I need to adapt to that world was just super eye-opening to me. And now I'm really thinking about what I need to do and what I need to change to be able to graduate and go into that workforce.
Something that was pretty surprising for me was that they took actual data. Showing up to this meeting, I was kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing or what this is. So seeing that they actually like took data from us and then went home and like did parents in the community and like actually using that data to implement new things, it was like surprising that they actually put in that much effort and took the responsibility to do the statistics and see what really helped and what we thought.
I was surprised that as a 7th grader in Mason Middle School, I had a say in the future of 2030 in Mason society.
So adding on to whatever everyone else said, I, as an 8th grader, felt like my voice was being heard and that I was actually seeing my input being implemented into the school, and I can't wait to see what changes come.
Thank you very much. Can we go ahead and we'll start this round? We'll go this direction. Okay. The next question that we have for you this evening is, how do you hope having the portrait of a learner will make a positive impact on future comments?
I would love to see the 7 competencies discussed arise more in school and like be more, I guess, there and like the students being taught those competencies so that they can be more successful when they graduate.
I wish to see the portrait of a learner help our future comments learn easily, and I hope it will also prepare them for the future challenges ahead.
I hope that it's like implemented throughout the whole Comet's career. I know starting younger, like it's not really like such a big thing, but as you get older, these like ideals, I guess, have been implemented. So having these competencies and really focusing and honing in on them, I think will help improve the Comet's experience as a whole. Just even like teaching them like simple things like little empathy or confidence boosters, they will help like in the long run, I'm hoping.
I know the student design team has talked a little bit about making this into like a logo on a t-shirt, but I really want to see this as more than just a logo on a t-shirt or a painting on a wall. I want to see this as action that we're going to get from all 12 years that we're at Mason. I know Dr. Cooper was talking about this, maybe having something at the end of the year just where students, when they think about Portrait of a Graduate, they're not just thinking about words on a wall or something on a t-shirt. They're thinking about what's really going to change and impact them when they graduate and leave Mason.
So I really hope that all of this work and efforts will actually improve the school culture to be more inclusive, diverse, generally welcoming and accepting to everybody. So I'm really glad that like we could help and make that happen.
Definitely what Ella said. I think that if we start younger, the concepts are going to stick to the person, and it's not the same as starting it in high school, where high schoolers just don't care. They're just trying to get through the day and just go home. But if we can start while they're in 7th grade or 6th grade, it's just, I feel like they are going to do something about it. It's like the big rocks or E plus R equals O. The earlier we start, the more it's going to be present.
We appreciate that insight. I'm going to go off script just for a second, if that's okay, and just ask you a couple of live questions. And feel free, anyone can answer these. But we've gone through this process. You've given us your thoughts. You've heard about competencies. We've also talked about the future and big dreams. Can you think of, through this process, has there been anything that you've thought, boy, it would be great to see this happen in our school system? Anything come to mind?
I think that, again, speaking about the competencies, I think those being taught in school from like a really early age would really, really help Mason as a school and a community.
Yeah, I kind of want to go off of that. I know Mason is a pretty competitive school, like not so much what the teachers have put on, but the students just like within each other. So implementing these competencies like communication and like empathy and critical thinking will just improve like a general well-being of the students.
I think it would really help to implement these competencies by like small activities, like one day in class just do an empathy activity or like a confidence activity, like where you ask a question and you don't know the answer, just like improv or something. It's like these small. So
Well, I think it would be really interesting to see if some of the high school students maybe could take on a bit of a mentorship role for a lot of the younger students and really try to like show all these competencies and all these ideals that we're picking up in the high school so that like the younger the students are, like they can look up to the high schoolers and say, oh, that's the type of person I want to be someday.
I would love to hear an emphasis on emotional regulation, especially on students that are younger and haven't really had an experience to really understand what their emotions mean. I feel like a lot of the competencies that we've been talked about are more like outward skills that are hard skills, like problem solving or leadership, and there's not really a lot that goes on like deep in the mind about emotion regulation and kids really understanding what they're thinking.
I think that interaction is key. These competencies are not something you can just watch off YouTube and try to learn. I think if you have more flex time like we do in high school, like in Connect time, we can have maybe teachers regulate conversations, but let the students talk themselves out in kind of like a Socratic seminar kind of way, and share their views and their ideas clearly and clearly. Sorry.
Well, you seem ready for me to push on you a little bit. We've given you a couple of just nice questions, but if I was to challenge you a little bit and say, you know, there may be, I don't think anybody may be in here, but maybe someone online is thinking, hey, competencies, these are soft skills. I mean, you know, these aren't things that we need to focus on. We need to focus on math or only social studies or only. Talk to me from your perspective. Are these important to you? Why are they, and how do they fit into, because these other things are important. I mean, you need to have these other skills and these, maybe an AP course in this to get you set up for your future journey. But how does this fit into all that?
So I think going back to the idea of how like Mason is so competitive, I think we're amazing at our hard skills. Like we have an academic team, we have science Olympiad, we have medical program, like we have a lot of different things. So I think like the next step in like improving Mason is probably improve a little more or like talk a little more about like those soft skills, because we talk a lot about hard skills, but we could probably like talk a little more about the soft skills and like improve like the discussion, like it's okay to make mistakes, or like being diverse and open-minded to different opinions instead of living in a world where like I'm right, you're wrong, and something that's just really divided.
I think we need a balance. Math, science, social studies, they're all stuff that are fundamental for a student, but I think these competencies are fundamental for being a human being.
To give a real life example, all of us up here have the hard skill of being able to public speak, as we're all up here sitting in front of you speaking, but if we didn't have the soft skill of confidence, we wouldn't be up here sitting in front of you. So having these soft skills is just as important as having the hard skills, because without confidence, we can't actually do these things that we want to do. And without other soft skills, we just have hard skills that can't really be activated to their full extent.
You can go ahead.
Okay. Going off of what Emma said earlier, like going out into the world, you can use all the hard skills, but having those soft skills are really transferable to anything that you want to go into. Someone like could go into the science field and someone could go in the social studies field and still use the competencies and the soft skills we're talking about, and it's more flexible and like ability to go to anyone in any job.
I feel like the hard skills we were talking about, kind of like math and social studies, they can help you graduate, but like there's always what's next. And what's next is skills like public speaking and leadership, because those are what's important. I mean, anyone can like figure out what the Pythagorean theorem is or like how to write an essay, but they have to be taught, and they have to be taught at a young age, all these competencies like leadership or communication to express themselves and to be more successful outside of school.
Going off on what you said, but like Pythagorean theorem and all that stuff, that can be taught on YouTube, like, YouTube video and stuff. But like these competencies, they can't be taught easily. They're like, you have to learn them from the early age and like take it forward.
Okay, I want to unpack something even further. One of the things that you talked about, I think Emma, you might have mentioned this, is confidence. And then you also, I love how you worded that these are skills that activate other skills. I mean, they're the way that you bring other skills to life. Talk to us. I'd love to hear, and I'd love for the crowd to hear a little bit about what does confidence mean, and what are maybe suggestions you have for us about understanding what it means to build confidence in young people? Because you all seem very confident stepping up here, but what are the things maybe we might not understand that we should understand?
So, me personally, what I think, confidence isn't necessarily like, oh, I'm gonna like do this or do that, and I'm gonna like take this leadership position or become a board member in something. I think confidence is more like willing to take a risk or like jump a little bit outside of your comfort zone. And what was the other question you asked?
Well, that you're leading down that, but I'm trying to understand. I would like, because I've heard you talk about confidence, but just unpacking that. What does that mean for a student, and what are maybe ways that we could continue to encourage that?
Yeah, so like I was saying, like if there was more like students could take a lead in the school, like, I don't know, students could work with students, like our peer tutoring program, for example, or they could work with teachers or like a group like this to improve some issues in the school they might think of. Just getting out of the comfort zone, like I said before, I think that would probably be really helpful for confidence.
We broke down confidence at one of our past meetings, and basically what I took away from that was confidence. The main, I guess, way to get confidence is communication, communicating in classrooms and being comfortable to communicate. And so having more of that in school, and like having more of those opportunities, like you said, like tutoring, or like just being able to help one another, and knowing that, I guess, another person is there for you would like really help with confidence.
I'm gonna be brave and say that failure actually has a lot to do with confidence. You can put yourself out there, you can try new things, but if you don't actually have the ability to say, I did this wrong, I might have to try this again, are you really confident? And additionally, if you don't have your inner confidence, if people are telling you, you can do this, you're gonna be able to do that, are you actually going to be able to do that without believing in yourself? So I think that being able to get kids to understand that a lot of their confidence comes from within themselves, and that they have that ability to fail, try up, do it again, and do even better would be an amazing way to instill confidence in the kids at Mason.
Pure confidence is completely understanding yourself and knowing yourself. I don't think, I'm not completely confident, I say, because I'm still trying to figure out who I am. And us students, we need a space to find out who we are. I think we do a good job saying that it's important to give everyone a voice and all that stuff, but it would be even better if teachers could say how you could give students more voice and how you accept others. Because it's pretty emphasized that you should do it, but no one really says how you should do it.
Another question that you just brought into my mind is, we talked at our last meeting about know thyself is like the beginning of this process. And if the better that people know who they are, they know their own values, they understand where they're going, their direction, that know thyself concept, or knowing yourself better. Can you think of any, if you're willing to share, moments along your journey here at Mason that have helped you to understand more about yourself? Whether it was an interaction with someone, an experience, an opportunity. Can you think of anything?
Last year in my English class, he gave us a prompt, and it was this I believe. So I just wrote, anybody wrote about anything they believed, and it kind of made me think for a second, like, what do I believe in? What is something that I want to share with this teacher? What is something that I want other people to know about me and like that I value? So open-ended things maybe, because I know that's a really specific example of like writing an essay in class, but open-ended things and the willingness, like Emma said, to fail, and like maybe I didn't get an A on like the perfect essay, but I shared something that I believed in and that was important to me.
Last year in my world history class, the teacher, we were sitting in rows, so it wasn't like we were in tables and we really got to communicate, but he had a daily warm-up where he would ask the question and we would all answer it. And they were like really simple questions like, what do you do in your free time? What did you do during the weekend? And getting to know the people around me, that class wouldn't have been as fun if I didn't know them. And one of like, I guess, the ways he helped us by teaching us and by, I'm trying to find a word, hold on. I guess teaching us how it is, how you communicate with others and how you can find similarities in others where like you guys are even like, I guess, close. Or so I walked into that classroom knowing nobody, and I walked out of the classroom at the end of the year almost having friends in that class with every single person. So I feel like the teachers play a big role in that, and yeah, that was one of my moments.
I've had lots of these little moments. One thing that I remember was 8th grade. We finished a book called Night by Eli Wiesel, and the teacher asked us how it made us feel. I was kind of speechless at that time. I'm still speechless, but it kind of made me think about like different experiences, because he was he went through lots of difficult stuff that I could never have imagined. Just maybe teachers talking directly to the student, making them more curious to learn. That plays a huge role.
So I'm in my second semester, sophomore year, so I'm thinking a lot about what I'm going to do after high school, and I'm feeling this societal pressure that I have to go to college. I have to get a 4-year degree, I have to graduate, I have to do something along that line, I have to get a good salary so I can support my family in the future. And then this year I got into my financial literacy class, which is a required class for all people at Mason before they graduate. And my teacher, our first unit, it was about careers, and I was just expecting to sitting there talking about, these are all the colleges you can attend, this is tuition, this is what you can expect, you're gonna be there for 4 years, you're gonna do great. And then she sat down and she said, you can get an apprenticeship, you could take a gap year, you can go into the workforce, you could go to trade school. And I sat there, my mouth dropped open, because I did not think that anyone around me would support me doing something other than getting a bachelor's degree at a 4-year college. So I feel like that really changed me in my outlook on what my future is going to look like and the things that I can accomplish with something other than a 4-year degree at a college.
I think to jump off on you right now, I like that Mason provides so many opportunities for students to like take part in. Like say you're interested in something, but you're not quite sure, there's probably a club for it somewhere. Or let's say the Scarlet Oaks program. So I know they just did a tour at the Scarlet Oaks school, I think, recently, where it's like you don't have to necessarily go into like you said, like a 4-year college, 4-year like degree thing. You can instead go into a trade. Like that could be something that you enjoy, or just in general, just like discussing with other students, like this is my interests, what are your interests? I think it's pretty cool.
Before we let you off the stage, Colin or any of my team have anything that I did not ask that I should have? I'm just going to double check before I jump on to the next. Good? Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing honestly. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for having confidence to get up on stage in front of this big group. I just know how much I can feel in this room, the appreciation for your voice and your thoughts. I know those were all live questions. You didn't have any prep for that. You had a couple at the beginning just to get you, to convince you to be up on stage. But we appreciate you just taking those questions and answering them with just great insight. And we appreciate that. Let's give them a hand. Thanks so much. All right, as they're making it back to their seat, grabbing a couple things to take home with them, And we would like you to stay around and enjoy some pizza or brownies or anything at this moment. We're going to move on to the next section. And the next section is an introduction into the draft. And I want to just pause for a second to help share with you how this draft came about and the work that went into pulling this together. So you heard Colin talk a little bit about the process of how we got to this point. You've been a part of the process, so you know. Here's what I'd like to share with you. We brought a small team together after the last meeting, and we took all of the chart paper, all of the insight from Colin, all of the data dashboards that he gave us, all of the data, put it all together. We put it up on our whiteboards in my office. If you've been to my office, it's got multiple whiteboards. We put it all up on the whiteboards. It's actually still sitting up there. I have pictures if you want to see that afterwards. We put the chart paper up. We started to do an analysis of how many, and we did word clouds. We did all kinds of different ways to look at the data to try to begin to say, okay, so what were the top words that were given? What was the spirit behind that word? What was the definition? What was the spirit behind what they were talking about, the definition? How do we honor all voices and get all of those words together? How do we actually honor the work that's been done in the district thus far? How do we build upon the foundation of the 3 big rocks? We have our 3 big rocks as part of who we are, so you know what those are, I'm sure by now. A focus on culture, how we do life together. We have, what's the middle one again? Inclusive excellence, thank you. Big rock 2, the spirit in which we approach the work and the world around us. And then big rock 3 is personalized learning. That's right, personalized learning. Those are not going anywhere. Those are foundational to us. Those are on our website if you want to learn more about them. But those are this process should take that to the next level. That's the whole idea. This is the next iteration of deepening that work, and what does that look like in action. So that's how we came up with the words here. What we're going to ask you to do is to do a little bit of feedback. And Colin, is there anything else with this process? I know you're around here somewhere. Thank you. Is there anything else with the process that we should be aware of and how to do this? Oh, go back one slide. Back again, back again. Yes. So one of the things that we heard it tonight again. One of the things I was trying to dig into is when we were hearing about confidence and we were hearing about know thyself and we were hearing about knowing your values, it started to run around this idea. We saw responsibility popping up on the charts. And so as we were thinking this through, one of the things that came out of this room also in that last meeting was the concept of integrity. That concept of consistently aligning your behaviors with your values and living those out, that whole idea of integrity. So that did make it onto this chart here because it became such a big conversation with some of the things you heard, even the panel tonight, but also some of the things that you heard in the room last time. So you're going to see that word on here because that became such an important part of the conversation. So you'll see integrity on here. Adaptability. So there were 4 that came through really clear to us. There was a big conversation, almost an arm wrestling match over critical thinking and problem solving. So you'll hopefully see where we have tried to integrate both together. You'll see some of that. We've kind of did a little bit of work on some of the wording. This is a draft. And then at the top, so here's where this started to come together. We started saying, okay, we can have these 5 words, right? And they're 5 competencies. But then it started, people were using sentences as they were talking about these like, well, learners live with integrity. Well, we're building leaders with integrity. Well, we want citizens that have integrity. And they started hearing these categories, and I'm abbreviating the conversation. And we started to come up with this concept of learner, leader, citizen. We are building learners, leaders, citizens. Learners, leaders, citizens. You heard that tonight. Learners, leaders, and citizens out in our world. And then we started to talk about, well, what kind of learners? We want this to be something that really pushes us. Well, they're courageous learners. They're compassionate leaders. They're curious citizens. Well, courageous learners Our learners who take risk and step up and get on stage, and they dig deep into the confidence that they have inside to say, I'm going to be vulnerable and I'm going to do this and I'm going to get into the work. I'm a compassionate leader. It's a leader that has empathy. Remember, empathy is where we sit in the space and we feel what you feel, and that's a word that we use at MECC. Compassionate means I have empathy, but then I take it to the next level and I actually do something about it. I take action. And that was something one of our students, Amog, I think, was bringing out last time at our conversation about what does that look like. And then curious. You heard them talk about being curious. Curiosity is where we start to ask each other questions and learn more about the story of my classmates. When I'm not in a row, but I'm in a group, and I heard that tonight, I get to ask those questions. The more curious questions I ask, the better I get to know my friend. The better I get to know my friend, I get to know myself. I get more confidence in that space, and I can learn. So that's where all of these words started to come together. So what we wanted you to do is spend a little bit of time giving us some feedback on just what you heard me talk a little bit about, but take a look at the words. And then the other thing I'm going to challenge you to do is, if you take a look in the middle of your, we have the Big Rock guide here that has all 3 rocks and our culture, beliefs, behaviors, and values all listed out in here. Have this out as you're looking through this piece, because one thing we know as an organization is if you want something to move forward and to be sticky, it has to connect with a foundational work that's already been here. It cannot be an extra thing. It happens to be something that's connected in deepening the work that's already being done here. Our teachers already understand the big 3 rocks, and they're doing them so well, beautifully throughout. It can't be another thing. So this, if you look at the language in our guide, you should be able to make direct connections to this. There's another thing. If you're at MECC, you hear the idea about the Comet Kid. You should be able to put that, those words should be right in the definitions here, so that if you're at MECC, you can connect this to the work that's already being done. So it's not an additional thing, it's a deepening of the work that we're doing. So take some time at your table. I believe you have a feedback form on your agenda and up here, is that right?
Yeah, if you scan the QR code on your meeting guide, you'll be able to access the platform, or you can scan the QR code that's up there on the screen. Then you will be able to click on Forms. And under Forms, the first form for you to complete is feedback on the descriptions, at which point you click on that and you'll be able to answer the 2 questions, which are what resonates with the descriptions as you are looking at them, and then the last question is what is missing.
So take time to go through that. Talk at your table. This is open discussion. Show people ahas that you're having. Make connections for people at your table so they see the connections you see, and then give us the feedback that we need to hear. We have about 25 minutes for this section, so we'll give you that time. During that time, if you need to get a drink, get a bite to eat, do that as well. it's about that time. I appreciate you. We said we have about 20, 25 minutes. We're right around 17 minutes, and we would like to give you a chance to share any of your insights. I'll go first just to model that, but then if you have ideas, I'd love for you to share them. One of the conversations I had at one of our tables was remind us again where the word integrity came from, because when we go back to the data, the word integrity is not one of the top words. I want to just go all the way back. One of the things, going through a process like this, one thing that's interesting is we had a set of words that we gave each of our groups, if you remember. Those set of words came from a protocol that we worked with Battelle for Kids and Colin and their team. And so we gave you that. That was on that core competency page. Well, what tends to happen is we then start to use those words as kind of the words. Then we ask groups to give us more ideas. And so from those more ideas, we heard things like my values. We heard things like I don't want... responsibility was one of the things that started coming up. We heard different ideas like that, and so as we heard those different words, our team, when we were looking for the fifth idea, because we had global citizen, we had honesty, we had just a lot of different things come at us. We looked at the data. We then listened to the conversations. The data that you have in front of you is the data that was entered into an electronic system. We have lots more data written down from all of our meetings. Like we have lots of anecdotal notes that we've written down from conversations, videos of listening to those conversations. And from that, in talking with our team, one of the things we thought was important was integrity. And we had integrity kind of in the middle of that last night when we were working with the board. I was working with our 5 board members and said, hey, here's a draft. I'd love to get your input before we go live again on this and go out with our public. And one of the things they suggested is, we'd love to see integrity move up right there on the top. Like start there, and then you work down your list. So that seemed like a good suggestion. We moved that up. That was just in the last 12 hours of our lives. Like we moved that up to the top. I just had someone ask questions about how does this integrate in, even with the integration of rocks. Great conversation that we will go back and think through, because we don't want those to feel like separate things. Even our rocks, we don't feel that separate. We want those to feel like integrated efforts. So that's my quick feedback. There's a microphone here. I've got one. Love to hear any thoughts that came out of your table that you would love to just lift up, and then please put your things in the electronic system as well. But any thoughts, any initial from your tables? Or did you hear somebody else's idea that you want to share? Students? Yep.
So I really think about, like, we were talking at our table, like how we can include these in our younger kids. And I think we kind of came up with the idea that we would assign like projects to them, like students in like kindergarten, they can have one of these competencies and like they can get a seal from it. Like Ian Orr said that we can get a seal from it. Like you would pick one when you're younger, and then you would try to keep that seal for the rest of your K through 12. And then that would be on your certificate of graduation. And I think that would be really good for trying to implement that to students.
Thank you very much. And so even going into the implementation, what does that look like? And that's a great idea. It could be a seal. It could be some kind of something you've earned. And then you share that ongoing. And I love the idea that it's a project that you're working on to demonstrate that. That's excellent. Other thoughts around the room? Love to hear your feedback. Other things? Yep. Thanks, students, for stepping right up. I love it.
So I was thinking that in communication, it's very big to try to take responsibility for their impact, because anything you say, somebody could take it the wrong way, or something could end up going into just a worse situation, and anything you say has a domino effect. So if you end up doing the wrong thing, it could go into other people doing the wrong thing, or maybe it could occasionally, not really often, but somebody could do the right thing, but then even that ends up like creating more good things. But if you take responsibility for that, there's a less likelihood of having a worse outcome.
Well said, Tyler, right? Well said. Thank you for sharing. Those are great insights. Got another one back here?
This is out of my comfort zone, but they're making me, so. We felt like the students in their panel, they really focused on confidence and having confidence. And in each of these, we could tie confidence into a lot of these, so we wouldn't really have to change one of our 5, but we felt that it needed to be tied into each of these more.
That's excellent. And if anybody has even thoughts on how that might integrate in, put it into our system as a suggestion, because we will take that and try to integrate that in. So thank you. Yep.
I don't know how financially sound this is, but but we were thinking about how we can maybe shorten the classes, make the teachers more connected to the students. Again, I don't know if it can work, like a shorter classroom, because we have so many people, teachers shortage, all that. But it's just a suggestion.
I would say if it's a suggestion, it's a dream, if it's the right thing to do, we can figure these things out, right? And that's why we've given ourselves this journey to 2030 and beyond. We have time and space and resources and great brains like you're bringing to the table to just share ideas with us on how we can do that. And I think you have a room full of people willing to try to figure that out. So thank you. Don't limit yourself by what we know today. That's not a visionary way to think. I mean, today is today, and today is great. And the things we do in our district, Mason Quality, is amazing, and our public and our community loves it. But it doesn't get that way by staying the same. It changes and it evolves, and that's what that visionary process is, and that's what today is hopefully kicking off in that Mason momentum. When you hear me say Mason momentum, it's getting people moving towards this future state of where we want to become.
So I know, like, when I was taking financial literacy, they did like a whole course, like an emphasis on soft skills and the importance of soft skills. And so that just gave me an idea, like a way to implement this could be as simple as, just creating a separate class. Or maybe it's not even a class, but maybe it's just like a 10 minutes like crash course or something like that, where students are able to just learn about these soft skills and then really know like the implementations like outside of school and how they will be able to use it. Because for me, like when I first heard of soft skills and financial literacy, like it really lit up something in my mind. And I know like now, like everywhere I look, I can see those soft skills and like how important they are.
You know what's great about Kobe is Kobe and I have run into each other in a lot of different meetings. He's a great leader in our community, and he was curious, as a lot of our kids are. What are you doing here? What's going on here? I said, join us. Come join us. And he just shows up and just jumps right in. I love that. That is who we get to be with every day in our buildings. It's a beautiful thing. Anybody else?
We were just talking about in the top one for integrity, making sure that there is some wording in there, though, that talks about if our students are being learners and asking them to hold up to that core set of values consistently, and especially when it's hard. Definitely that's what we want from them, but all of us make mistakes. And I think making sure that that's part of it. We heard the students talk about they need that opportunity to make mistakes to learn from. I mean, even as adults, we're all put in positions where we think later, man, I wish I would have handled that a little bit differently, and that we can learn from those things. And so I just feel like that integrity one it's the first part of it is really a high standard to try to hold kids and people in general to. And so maybe changing the wording to allow that learning process to happen. When we know better, we do better, and be able to have that in there.
I hope someone gets that in the system. That's a great recommendation. I'm sure we wrote that down. But yes, we're people. We make mistakes and we get better and we own those. And that is a part of the community, hopefully, and culture we have built here, that's okay, as long as we're getting better. Joe, I think there's a mic right there. Do you mind grabbing that one? They'll save us time. Thanks.
table talked about how do we, if our kids are learning all these great things, culture, the 5 key soft skill areas, and what they see outside is completely different. What they see from society is completely different. How do we help them handle that and deal with that when they're operating a certain way and they see in society this isn't happening? So I think that was one of the things I'm pretty sure we talked about was a key insight for me.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate that question. I'm going to turn it over to Colin to answer that question. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That is a great, what you're pointing at there is we are developing human beings. And if you look across the top of your page, we're developing courageous learners, leaders, and citizens. And we want to create this high standard that you can make mistakes, but you're growing, and that we're sending 1,000 students a year out into the world to make this a better place. And so that is really important to us. Sorry, go ahead.
So we were talking at my table after what you said about like smaller class sizes. I said something about how though there are bigger class sizes, I feel like those class sizes kind of help the students rely on one another, and I feel like all those competencies come into play in that. And so when the teacher steps back for a bit and we're given a hard assignment, then the students are being able to kind of communicate with each other and go through, I guess, we called it a design process in STEM, but I guess go through that design process and come up with an answer just within themselves and like don't need an adult's help. So we're like relying on one another and working as a team.
You guys were talking about class sizes, but I think it really depends on the teacher, because I have a great LA teacher. His name is Mr. Schatzel, and LA is my least favorite subject. But he makes the subject more fun, and like he's so chill and like relaxed, so that it makes everyone feel included. So I think it depends more on that.
I think, we have students as a part of our interview process. Some of you may know that when you're interviewing to be a part of our district team, you have students there. I think we need a question on chill. Is that cool? I think that'd be great. That's a good question to ask. Anybody else, last comment before we move on to the next? We are right at 7:30, so that's, I think, going to go on to the next. Okay. We're moving to the next stage in our evening, the Student $100 Design Challenge. Woo! We have 3 amazing students who are here ready to give their pitch. They're going to give their pitch. We're going to vote live. We're going to give a winner. No, I'm just kidding. We're not doing that. That would just be, holy moly. My team said, that's not a good idea, Jonathan. I don't think that's good or caring. What we're going to do, actually, we have a special announcement. I'd like all 3 of you to come up here, if you would. Just stand up here. Yeah, I know it's a little different than the script, but we're going to have you come up here just for a second. Let's give these students a hand. One of the things I shared with you last night, we had the gift of student voice. We have the gift of student artwork and voice wrapped up into this. One of the things I also want to point out really quickly, if you are a part of the Mason Schools Foundation, we're all a part of it, but if you're serving as one of the members, can you stand up as a Mason Schools Foundation member really quickly around the room? Stand up, yes, stand up please, around the room, yep, thank you, yep, stand up and wave so we see you, we can look, yep, thank you. I want to just thank the Mason Schools Foundation. They heard this idea getting pitched the other day when we were together, and quickly they came up after me and said, hey, the $100 is a neat idea, Jonathan. We would like to go a little bit more than that, and we would like to be the sponsor of that, because this seems like an above and beyond moment, and we want to be in that moment. And that's the great thing about our Mason Schools Foundation. That's how they think. How do we continue to push Mason above and beyond? So thank you to our foundation. And what that allowed us to do is to not create a situation where you're getting voted on live here. So I'm going to take some pressure off you. And I'm going to tell you right now that you are all 3 the winners of $100 right here, right now. I know, that takes the pressure off you right now. I know, does that feel like, oh, wow. Now, you're still going to share your idea with us, I hope, and we still want to hear your idea, but I know you were nervous and you knew this time was coming, and they were thinking, oh my goodness, they're going to vote for me the whole night. And now because of our Mason Schools Foundation, they have created that moment for you to just chill, as we would say, and just share freely about what inspired you to make this design. We want everyone to hear that. We want the pressure to be off you. Just share that. Your designs are beautiful. And before I go any further, are there other students here that submitted designs? Are there any other students that have submitted designs as a part of this process? I just want to make sure everybody gets recognition for that. I don't think, well, we had 24 designs, and if anybody wants to see those at some point and you want to see those later, they're beautiful designs. They really are. And I know they're probably online watching right now. Can we give them a hand? Thank you for tuning in. I'm sure they're online right now seeing who's going to win because they're curious. But you all three are winners. So I'm going to turn it, who is first again? Okay, first introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about that. Do we have a slide up there? Yes. Okay. Introduce yourself. I'll be right here, but the stage is yours. And if you want to be up there on stage, yeah, you go ahead and do that. We'll sit down. Go ahead. Yeah, there we go. It's all you.
Hi, my name is Ashna, and this was my design. So the thought process behind the design was to start with the idea of a North Star because the 5 key values are the guiding points for Mason learners, just as the North Star was a guide for others back then. With that being said, the stars surrounding the Mason M became the central part of the design. The M in the middle shows how these words represent a Mason learner and Mason culture in my view. The rim around the star embodies the 5 values that I believe represent a portrait of a learner. These words aren't in any specific order. So the first word is confident. This word represents that a learner is confident in what they are learning and can apply it to not just the classroom setting, but also the knowledge they have and apply it to the real world. Next is the word adaptable. A learner should be able to adapt to changes, whether that be in the way a teacher is teaching, the manner in which the class is being taught, or the amount of work they have to do for the class. This is an important quality in a learner and what I believe helps one succeed. Then is the word kind. As a learner, being able to help or offer assistance in a kind manner to others and being kind in general can help a learner become a leader. The next word is mindful. Being mindful is important when learning new concepts and helps you be aware of your surroundings. It also helps learners understand what others are experiencing. And finally, a learner must be honest. If a learner is struggling with something, they should speak up and ask for help. They are here to learn and become better, so in order to get better as a learner, they must ask questions and be honest about what they need. Honesty also helps a learner gain more trust from others and build their integrity. All of these key values, I believe, helps a Mason learner become a better version of themselves, and the design helps show that Mason can help you get there. With the Mason M in the middle, it shows that Mason is the center for helping students. The North Star shows how Mason can help guide us to reach our best selves as learners, and the overall circle design provides the visual of a compass and shows how Mason can help guide its learners to those 5 key values. Thank you.
Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Dasha, I'm a sophomore year, and firstly, a little introduction. I moved here not so long time ago, and when it happened, I was really worried if I will fit community, have to show myself and act in it. I was unsure in myself, worried about if people will accept me, if teacher will appreciate me, and if I will find friends. But despite all my worries, Mason High School community accepted and appreciated me, my personality, and despite all my flaws. I feel that I'm a part of this huge Mason community so far. Mason School united me and a lot of different people who are totally different, and they found a way to us, to every one of us. So I really wanted to put my experience in sense of my design. So that will be how. Finally, let's talk more about construction of my design. When I saw about this idea, I wanted to make it as readable and simple as possible for a person of any age. This design should be easy to understand, but it still must have an idea and be interesting to eye. So the letter M in the center is really readable as a brand and shows a big community of Mason Comet School. 5 hugging people in a circle represent the children of different groups, nationalities, with extraordinary hobbies and views. But Mason School united all of them and gives them equal opportunities in development. Text from a task is 5 basic skills that each of them will carry into the future. The idea is interesting and at the same time has easy meaning. I also added marks that can show the skills themselves. Having a bright color, the design draws attention to itself well and leads the viewer gain further to important details. I also want to say thank you to Mason community because I'm here not so long time and I can't imagine that like students can sit here and tell ideas and people really hear them. And so this is so cool and I just want to say thank you for Mason community.
Hello everybody, my name is Charles Wen, and let me show you why this design right behind me is worthy of your attention. So look around you, what do you see? The Mason Comets, the biggest and the best high school in Ohio. We are the very future of America. And that idea brings me here to this very design. The core idea was to reimagine the Mason Comet in a new sleek and modern design. The comet itself travels along a circular path in the shape of the letter C, which I leave to you, my audience, to decide what that could stand for, whether it be creativity, courage, compassion, community, or anything else that we believe in. When I first heard about this challenge, I knew that I had to create a design that illustrated the pillars, the fundamental pillars of Mason. Taking inspiration from other portrait of a learner designs, I created a versatile and minimalistic graphic that could be incorporated in so many different ways. From posters and shirts, this comic could fit right anywhere. But at the end of the day, I wanted to illustrate the very idea that our student body represents the future. That we represent what it means to be thinkers and communicators. Whether it be used as a new logo or a symbol representing the pillars of the student body, this design can be the one thing that we all recognize as taking action. I feel proud in this design, and I hope that you, the community, can feel proud in it as well. Thank you. Have a nice night.
Let's have you guys come back up here really quick. And our Mason Foundation, if you come up here really, just really quick, hustle up here. Basically, yep. If you're part of the Mason Schools Foundation, you 3 students, come on up. And I'd like to have our other students coming up there on the panel. If you just really quick, if you're on the panel, come on up. Yep, thank you very much. Foundation members, if you'd stand here. Our 3 designers, if you'd be right here. And then our other panelists, be right over here. Tracy or someone, grab a quick picture of them if that's okay while we have them together. I'd like you, squish in, be friendly. Yep, there we go. Great. I'll get out of the way. Get a quick picture of them all together if we don't mind. All right. Good. Hey, I want you just to see the future of our world is bright, right? Let's give them a hand. They're amazing. Thank you. I just had to have you up one more time just to be a part of this. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, at this time, you have seen, hopefully, the process go all the way through to this next step. We have future plans already developing on where this goes next. So a quick preview, and then you're going to go to, I'm going to turn it over to, okay. We need feedback. I'm sorry, I apologize. That was my fault. We're going to pause and give some feedback on the 3 designs that you saw. What you thought about those designs. I apologize, got ahead of myself. So please do that. Now, if you would, you add that into the system. Okay. I will not interrupt you again. Do that so we can stay on our time schedule here.
Double Dutch. Double Dutch. So for those of you who are parents who weren't here and don't know what double Dutch means, that means I need your attention. That's what that means right now. A couple things. So the first thing I want to say is this. You know, I have the honor and privilege of doing this work across the country, and I get to interact with a lot of different communities, and I just want to say that you all have a very, very special group of individuals, okay? And I get asked all the time, because I used to be a middle school teacher, middle school principal, high school principal, do you miss it? And my answer is always a resounding no, okay? Until I have an opportunity to interact with the young people that you have here in the community, to see them shine in the panel type situation, that gets me all up in my feelings. And so what an honor and a privilege you all have as teachers, as administrators, as community members and parents to have such a bright young group of superstars. And again, I just want to commend and salute all of you, because I know incredible things are going to happen as a result of this work, and especially because of their participation. So I want to shout out and salute the students. Okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing I want to do is have you all turn to the last page of your meeting guide. And on the last page of that meeting guide, you have space for a note taker, okay? And so in the interest of time, we're not gonna do the activity that I was hoping to be able to do, which was some role playing, okay? Because I was gonna ask for a couple volunteers, and we were gonna actually role play a couple scenarios that some of you all might find yourselves in as it relates to how do we talk about this work and the work that we did, okay? And so in lieu of that, we're going to start the Each One Reach One campaign, okay? So you all are going to develop an elevator speech around how do we talk about this work, okay? And then what's the most important piece of information that somebody should know about the portrait work? And so some of the things you might say is we came together and we talked about how the world has changed. And we asked ourselves, what are the implications of those changes on learning experiences for students here in Mason? Then we identified a group of skills that we call competencies that we think all students need that will be transferable across any choice they make across when they get to graduation. And then we came together and we started to localize what does that mean for our unique community. And then we came together and we provided input on what that actually looks like in action. So that might be your 30-second elevator speech. That might be your grocery store speech. When you hear somebody on the other aisle and they're like, yeah, I heard they got this portrait. I don't know what it is though. You can move those cereal boxes, you look through there and be like, I'll tell you about the portrait because I was there and I participated, okay? And so I just invite you all as members of the design team to just jot down your notes around how you would talk about the work. There are approximately 100 people in this room right now. If every person in this room commits to going out tomorrow and talking to one person who didn't participate in the process about it, but helping them understand or to develop the same level of understanding that you all have, now that number is up to 200. And then if you challenge that person that you talk to tomorrow to go out and talk to somebody else, by Thursday or Friday, we're up to 400, okay? And if we rinse and repeat a few more times, then this whole community is fully aware of how we arrived at this portrait, okay? And so I'm asking you all to commit to being an ambassador, talking about the work, helping somebody else understand how we arrived at this portrait, sharing that same level of enthusiasm that you brought to each one of these meetings, and going out and starting the fire, okay? Start the portrait fire. Get that groundswell of support going, and help people understand how you describe the work, why we did the work, and what's the most important thing we want people to know about it. So how do we want them to feel? What do we want them to know? And most importantly, what can they do to be of service? Okay? So that's the note catcher for you all to think about it, because I know the Spirit is going to move you all later on tonight. And then you take that pen and you put it to that paper and you write those notes down, okay? And tomorrow, commit to talking to one other person about the work. Could be your neighbor, could be your spouse who's not here, could be another one of your classmates, could be a teacher in the teacher's lounge, could be another community member, but commit to talking to one other person, and then ask that person to commit to talking to somebody else, okay? And play that game of telephone, all right? And so by next week, this time, all of Mason knows about it, all right? The last thing that I would ask for you all is meeting feedback, because again, I get the opportunity to go do this all over the place, and I try to perfect and hone my craft and want to make sure that every community has a quality experience. And so there are 4 questions that are not the normal questions that you answer, but we'd just like some insights on what your thoughts were around the portrait process, what helped you engage at a high level, what could have been better about the process, and anything else that you would like for us to know. And so I will just say, I was in my feelings this morning when I was shoveling out of my driveway when school was canceled, and I text John at 5, say, hey, we don't have school up here. What's going on down there? Oh, we don't have school either, but we're still having a meeting. Yeah. Oh, okay. You know, so I was certainly feeling some kind of way about it. I'm so happy and glad that I had the opportunity to make the trip down here. I've been humbled by this experience. I'm going to miss you all. Looking forward to great things from Mason. Thank you and good night from me.
Colin, we really appreciate you coming into a community and doing this work. It's not easy. You've been able to get to know people here. I know our students love you, and you've even played some chess with a couple of our students and taught them some moves, so we appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of this. You're always welcome here, just so you know, always welcome here. Bring friends, family, anytime you come through, you're always welcome, so thank you very much. A couple things to wrap up our evening. Want to highlight and build on what Colin just mentioned. This sticker right here is a sticker to represent the work that you've been a part of through this journey thus far. And the sticker is to remind you that the work's not done. This is, as Colin has said, this is when the work begins. So put the sticker somewhere where it's going to be visible for you to be reminded of the Tell One campaign, or maybe it's the action steps that you're going to take to help us build Mason Momentum. So put that somewhere that's going to remind you on a regular basis, because the journey is just beginning. Second, students that are here, we have certificates for you. Don't forget to grab those certificates. Those are for you to honor and to thank you for the work that you've been a part of as well. Student design team members, make sure you grab your information as you go out. You got your $100, right? So okay, good, got that. I don't want to walk out with $300. That doesn't look good. Also, so you have this. You've given us feedback. I think what Colin said is really powerful. Practice what you're going to say. Because if you don't practice what you're going to say, you're not prepared for what you're going to say, then it's not going to come out the way you might want it to come out. So practice it. Ask yourself the question, why is this important? Why did I give all my evenings to this? How could this impact our future? Those are just practice those, and then get ready to get people excited about it. We can't do this. I could go out there and shoot 1 million videos, but I'm one person. I need the community to rally around our momentum to move us forward. I really need you to do that. That is what works in this community, and it moves the work forward. So thank you so much. Real quick check with anyone else in the room. Is there any other logistic? Yep, go ahead, and then I'll tell us next steps. Go ahead. That's it? Okay. Yep, so what's happening next is we are going to, first, number one, we'll go through all the things that you've given us. So you gave us feedback in that for 3 or 4 things tonight. We'll take that feedback. Our team will crunch that data, and we'll try to make the tweaks that you suggested and try to figure that out the best we can, just like we did the first time. So that's number one that we will do as an action step on our part. Number 2, in March, we will bring this information in the process to our entire staff. So 1,300 members of our community, immediate community, will get this information given to them in a way that is hopefully compelling, invitational, and they will also give some feedback as they go through that process. So that will be our staff members that will be a part of that. There will be efforts that will start to happen with our students as well, bringing that to our students. So small little fires, as Colin talked about, started all around, spot fires started around our district. We also then have family orientation. Family orientation is the beginning of the school year. At family orientation, we will spend time intentionally rolling this out to all of our families and inviting them into that process. So you can see how this begins to ripple. So the more you tell, the more runway there is. And so when people arrive there, they say, oh, yes, I've heard about that. I've heard about that. And so they're ready to go. So prime that pump and get people ready for that. So that'll happen in August. And then we also have a Mason Learning Series opportunity or some sort of conference kind of engagement with our staff where it's not only just telling and sharing about it, it's, hey, let's talk about what does this actually look like? How do we plan for this? How do we actually build this out into our classrooms? What does that actually look like? And so it's not just telling, hey, go do this. It's let's roll up our sleeves and figure out how to do it. We'll have work teams that you might be invited to be a part of. I saw some of you raise your hand. You've been here all 5 meetings. You might be invited to be a part of that. Work teams in our community that will actually work on, well, what does this look like at the different grade levels? What does this look like in a natural integration so it's not another thing? What is this, how do you measure this? You know, what does that look like? So those work groups will start to come out. So lots of steps will come from this. You will most likely get invited to some of those steps. Please engage in that. If you have ideas of natural next steps that maybe I didn't mention right here tonight, bring those to us. We're open to ideas. We're open to ideas. So bring those ideas to us. We want your ideas. All right. Tanya's going to give directions, though. I know hers is the final, so I don't want to go yet. A push?
Some of our community members who are part of our Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Council who are kind of sitting here and being part of this work wanted to make sure with this incredible group of people who've been thinking about what curious citizens look like and compassionate leaders and courageous learners, we have a couple of opportunities coming up, and we wanted to just invite everyone to our Black History Fest, which is part of our Windows and Mirrors, which is on February 27th, a Monday at Mason Intermediate, and then we have Taste of Mason coming up on March 1st, and we would love for all of you to join us at both of those events.
All right, I think we are right on time. It is literally, if you look at your watch right now, I think we're going to tick right to the exact number. So one thing we want to do is always honor your time. Thank you very much. Thank you, I mean that. Thank you for a third time. I mean it. Thank you for being a part of this and giving us your time, giving us your thoughts, your energy. Your ideas will drive this district toward a direction that will continue to be what we call Mason quality. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. Tanya, what do we need to know? She always has, get the final word. Tell us. Have a lovely evening. Be safe out there. Take an extra pizza with you.